All right. Welcome everyone. I hope the stream is doing well. Maybe I have to check it out first. But yeah, welcome everyone to obviously every Friday, 3 p.m. UK time. I usually do Newcastle United transfer roundup shows, whatever, for about 20, 30 minutes. But because there's barely been any news, this might be probably one of the shortest ones this season, unless maybe next week we have absolutely nothing to chat about. Because to be honest, there's not really much to chat about in terms of Newcastle United transfer news that is like genuine to chat about. But obviously, today I'm going to be discussing about the current topics. There's about maybe two topics, three topics. This one's a little bit more, I wouldn't say personal, but just maybe having a chat with all you guys and making sure that where do I stand in terms of being able to set standards for this football club. Oh, okay, that was loud. Excuse me about that. But yeah, let's actually, before I chat about those sort of things, let's talk about left back options. This is probably the talk of the tune right now. Obviously, we talked about Harvey Barnes last week. As I said, I'm not really a big fan of him. I know every other Newcastle fan is, but to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of Harvey Barnes. But how about in the left back position? This one has been popping up a little bit more recently. There was obviously one about Federico Di Marco, which I obviously did a YouTube short on because that's probably at least something that's like attainable. I do believe Federico Di Marco is a player we could be after, but do I think we'll actually get him? I don't think so. But would I take him? Yeah, obviously. Even though yes, he is a wing back more rather than like a traditional left back, but I do believe that DeMarco is a very, very top talented player. Obviously, made the Champions League final, won the Coppa Italia, and all that sort of stuff. How about other left backs? There's a couple that I didn't do YouTube shorts on this past week because I honestly didn't really think of much of it. There was one about Theo Hernandez from AC Milan potentially going to Newcastle, and the story was that Newcastle United. I hope I got this. I have to check the source of it. Theo Hernandez was apparently open to the move. I believe I'm not 100% sure, but it said that when Newcastle United were going, okay, I found it. From Dimazio, this was a day ago, and it says that Newcastle United tried to get Theo Hernandez along with Sandro Tonali, but Newcastle United only offered around £51 million, or £50 million, which is around 60 million euros. But AC Milan said no to Theo Hernandez. But it says that Newcastle United are more than capable of raising the offer if they really want the player, and they can offer a very high wage as well. That is according to Dimazio, Italian reports on Theo Hernandez being a potential signing for Newcastle United. Whether that is true that we got in for both Sandro Tonali and Theo Hernandez, and not just like people talks about, Newcastle also interested in Theo Hernandez. Whether we were actually going in for Theo Hernandez was maybe something I'm not really 100% sure about. And that's probably because I don't really think I don't really trust the story that much, even though it is the Mazio. But I really do not really think that Newcastle United are really going in for a Theo Hernandez. But obviously, I hope I'm proven wrong. I really do want Theo Hernandez. He's probably like my preferred option at left back. Just out of curiosity, I do think he is the best left back in the world at the moment. Probably the most complete left back as well. But yeah, the other left back news, I think this was coming from Flaz Fletcher, and this was regarding surprise. I don't even, is Hugo Bueno from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, if you know anything about Hugo Bueno, from Wolves. Exactly. Like I know Breno is good. In his name he's good, but I don't really look. To be honest, I don't really think Hugo Breno is really anything. To be honest, I just think it's just paper talk. To be honest, um, and I genuinely do not think that we're actually going in for a player like Hugo Breno at that level. I mean, he plays for Wolves. First, first of all, I don't really think we should really be going for any Wolverhampton Wanderers players. After Ruben Neves left, there's not really many good options that would massively improve our team. Players from Wolves, and I don't really think Hugo Breno is one of those players. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Obviously, what left back do I really think will actually get? Was there one that was? I believe there was a name before, but I'm not. It's at the top of my head, tip of my tongue. Trying to remember. Um, trying to remember. I can't remember. But just from the names that I said, DeMarco, Theo Hernandez, and Hugo Breno. I think obviously I would prefer Theo Hernandez. He is my like yes, I want that player at us at Newcastle. DeMarco looks like probably of the three, I think the most realistic, if I'm going to be honest. And I think Hugo Breno is just like, come on, he is not. He's barely an improvement. He's just squad depth. But yeah, that is the current talk about left back. And obviously, as I said, my preferred left back option is Hugo Bueno. Obviously, before we continue, please do hit the like button on this stream. And if you're watching this back, obviously, still hit the like button. And also subscribe to the channel, by the way, bottom right hand corner, as I'm hopefully trying to reach maybe, I'm one subscriber away from 330, which is, well, now I'm at the moment 21 subscribers away from 350, which for me is like a lot. If I'm going to be honest, 350 subscribers is a lot. And, and obviously there's a lot of plans that I have. Obviously, yesterday I uploaded a video talking not really talking. I uploaded my intro for the FIFA Women's World Cup for the Philippines, which I'm repping right now. And that took like about a week and a half maybe to really have some sort of time to really do it. And to be honest, I think it looks good overall. I'm not the most experienced person to really speak about like doing animations and all that, but good work for me basically. But yeah, now let's jump on to the main, well, not really the main topic, but something I want to discuss is this. This is Newcastle fans, just so you know. Should Newcastle fans have the right to criticize this transfer window? And the reason why I'm posing this question to anyone in the live chat or wherever is Newcastle United or Newcastle United fans like myself or whoever it may be criticizing the club that we only really made just one like major signing, which is Sandro Tonali, and we're already in the preseason. Like tomorrow, Saturday, I believe, we'll play against Gateshead in our first preseason game. So even though I don't really think that's really anything, but when we go to America, do we really want a player like? Do we really want Sandro Tonali to be the only player that's in America for us? Like, I hope that we can bring in at least one more signing, to really at least push for something for this summer. So, should Newcastle United fans have the right to criticize? Yes, everyone has the right to their opinion. You see a lot of like Newcastle fans that are bigging up Harvey Barnes, because he scored 13 goals for a club that got relegated. Yeah, a club that got relegated. Yeah, we're rewarding him with that by giving him Champions League football. I really don't think Harvey Barnes is all that. And I'll discuss this in a little bit about my perfect summer transfers. Not realistic, but just players that I think that we've been linked to, but I don't think. Uh, but it's just my opinion, to be honest. And any Newcastle fan, any fan of any club, is entitled to their opinion, whether it's a very valid or a very good opinion or not. I think every opinion matters for the most part, as long as you put in simple logic behind why you think that sort of way. So for me, am I criticizing Newcastle United this transfer window? No, because I know what this club is all about. We lie to the media, as obviously last week's live stream, saying should we trust Newcastle United journalists? Personally, I don't really trust that much. 75 million pounds to spend in the whole summer, yet we've spent most of that on Sandro Tonali. So yeah, I really don't trust any of the Newcastle United based journalists until there's more concrete reports and there's a lot more steam going through regarding deals. Like obviously Sandro Tonali, when that first broke, I remember when it first broke, it was like 5 a.m. or something for me. And when it broke. It continuous more journalists, not just Newcastle United based, but also Italian reports. I think I'm not sure if David Ornstein said something about it, but I do think there was something. Ornstein bomba, whatever they call it. You know, um, I hope that in the next week or two that we do get at least some major movement in whatever area it is. We need you know a right winger, a starting right winger, a starting midfielder, a starting left back, and at least a decent or even like a starting right side center back alongside a backup center forward and a backup goalkeeper. Even though yes, we have signed Loris Karius for a year extension, but what does that mean for Martin Dubravka? I personally think he'll leave. Martin Dubravka, I really don't see why he would continue to stay with us. I mean, he already ruined or severed relationships with the Newcastle United fan base by joining Manchester United. And personally, I don't really think he should really be at the club anymore. I think he served his time, great servant, but now it's time for a goalkeeper like him who wants to be playing first team football. I think we should grant him his wishes. If there's a Premier League club that wants him, sell him or whatever. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with Newcastle fans having the right to criticize the transfer window because we're very slow. But for me, you know, I hope there's a bit of news in the next week or two. At least one more signing before we go to preseason tour in the US. I think that would be at least ideal for any Newcastle fan, I would honestly say. But how about we talk about this? My perfect summer transfers for Newcastle. As I said, I listed out the positions we need. I still think, obviously, working our way up the field. Backup goalkeeper, a left back, starting left back, a potential starting right side center back, a midfielder. In terms of what midfielder, I would say a CDM or number 6. So that's 4 players now. A right winger and a backup center forward. So that's 6 players. So I'll try to, and that's adding in Sandro Tonali. I'm just saying. So that's 7 basically. And who should those 7 players be? In regards to budget or whatever, I'm not really going to take too much key or notice on it. I'll just say what is more priority over the others. So from the positions that I listed, I think the most important is a right winger, a winger basically, and then a left back, and then a right side center back, a CDM, and then a backup goalkeeper and a backup center forward. I think backup goalkeeper and backup center forward, if we're not going to get any of those, we still need 4 more positions: a midfielder, right side center back, left back, and a winger. Who are those players? I'll just say those 4 positions. Let's start with the priority winger, right winger, to be precise. who do I think should be the pick of the bunch? If anyone remembers, about a couple months ago, roughly, or a month and a half ago, there was a David Ornstein report, because I had to look this up actually, that Newcastle United at one point, could still be, are interested in potentially signing Mohamed Kudus from Ajax. This was around like mid to late May. So, and there's not really been much since then. But for me, I would honestly take Mohamed Kudus. I think Mohamed Kudus is the perfect right winger for Newcastle United. I think he is technically gifted, very good player. Obviously, I think the best case was seeing him in the Champions League and in the World Cup as well for Ghana. But I had to look at his stats, because every Newcastle fan is apparently a stat nerd. And this past season, 22-23, across all competitions, Mohamed Kudus scored 18 goals and had 7 assists. So that is 25 goal contributions this past season in 40 games. That is about 0.6 goal contribution per game, which is higher than Harvey Barnes, who is a left winger, which I don't really think is much of a priority position. Oh, I almost forgot. Oh, Immortal. Oh, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Maybe we'll play Mobile Legends. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe I'll say in the group chat, personal group chat. But yeah, Mohamed Kudus would be a player I would love at Newcastle United. And as I was saying about Harvey Barnes, is that Harvey Barnes, he scored 13 goals, 3 assists in all competitions. That's 16 goal contributions in about, I think it was 40 games or something. That is 0.4 per game. So 0.4 for Harvey Barnes, 0.6 for Mohamed Kudus. Who do I want? Mohamed Kudus. So Mohamed Kudus would be my perfect white winger for this summer. Next position, left back. Obviously, I would love to get Theo Hernandez, but I think in terms of realistic, obviously there's been Livramento, but I'm not really sure. I think Livramento is probably a player that I think we'll probably get. But obviously Southampton are, what, 30 million for a player that's been relegated and actually barely really played that much for Southampton. 30 million, too much. But as I said, I don't really think budget is that much of a issue when I'm speaking about it, because I don't really have to think about it. So Kudus, Livramento, right side center back. This player I've seen name. Obviously, there's Axel Disasi that's been massively linked. I had a little bit of a look at him. He is decent. I don't know too much again still about him, but a player that I would love to get is Puskers from Torino. I think he would be a perfect partnership with Sven Botman, because they're both Dutch. So double Dutch defense with Nick Pope in behind them. Okay, that sounds so wrong. But yeah, I would definitely would say that Puskers from Torino would be my just preferred selection at right side center back, but I don't mind a player like Disasi to come in if Manchester United are also looking at him. And finally, a number 6. I mean, because the deal broke down, I've always said I would love to get Edson Alvarez. So that's 2 Ajax players, Mohamed Kudus and Edson Alvarez. Edson Alvarez, who was meant to join Borussia Dortmund, but I don't know why, all of a sudden not. So I don't really know if Edson Alvarez, who's also been linked with West Ham United, so I do think they're looking in for him. So I do. If West Ham are in for him, we should be all over Edson Alvarez. To be honest, I really do think Edson Alvarez is a very good CDM, a number 6 for us. So yeah. So the 4 players that are listed would be my perfect summer transfers. Gosh, this dog's outside. I don't know why. Barking. So the 4 players I would love to get: Mohamed Kudus, Livramento, So annoying. The dogs outside. Livramento, Kudus, Perskers, and Edson Alvarez. Those would be the four, but I don't mind Disasi or Kefram Turam, whatever. But yeah, that's really much it because there's barely been any Newcastle United transfer news that's like big. Every single week. This past week, like with Axel Disasi, nothing much came of it so far. Even though Fabrizio Romano was the first to really report about it. So yeah, that's really it for today's show. Basically, not much to talk about, as I said. Hopefully next week there'll be a lot more. The Ornstein Bomba will come out of Newcastle United, or here we go from Fabrizio Romano, or whatever. I just want at least one more signing before Newcastle United go on tour to the US. Obviously, the international players, Joe Ellington, obviously new signing Sancho Tonali, Anthony Gordon, Bruno Gimenez, and whoever else are coming back from the international break and vacation, and now every single player at Newcastle is now fully back to preseason training ahead of tomorrow's game against Gateshead. Am I going to watch? If there's a available stream for it, I will. If not, well, I'm not going to do a live stream of it. Um, but I'll watch. If there's no stream of it, then I'm not gonna watch. But very quickly, news on the Women's World Cup. Obviously, I did the intro of it yesterday, uploaded on my channel, and it is. I'm very very excited to do it. Yeah, you'll hear a lot more on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think probably Tuesday, whereby I will be doing a video about the Women's World Cup as it begins. Obviously, I'm excited. It's going to be an actual. I'm thinking of doing 2.5, 3 hour long live streams for all of the Filipinas, or the Philippines national women's team football team games. So that's what, nearly 9 hours of women's football for me this summer. Obviously, I hope 12, 15, 18, whatever hours it is of that as well. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, please do subscribe to the channel, like the video, and also ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any updates. Obviously, the next time I'm doing a Friday 3 p.m. UK time live stream would be after the Philippines play Switzerland in our opening game of the Women's World Cup. So maybe I'll be in a good mood, mood, or bad mood. We'll see. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.